hasn't been smooth sailing in the last couple of months for Anthony Albanese.
Order, members on my left will cease ejecting.
That we did not want to see.
That's a really quick drop-off in support in just 1 month for Labor.
Anthony Albanese has abandoned key elements of massive tax cuts.
Labor polling shows a whopping 2/3 of voters are in favour of this move. It's left Peter Dutton wedged and Liberal MPs divided.
He lied to the Australian people.
I pay him one for having the courage to do it.
The Prime Minister's announcement that his government was rewriting the tax cuts due to take effect on July 1 has changed a lot more than the personal income tax scale.
The Albanese government failed to prepare for a High Court decision it knew was coming for almost 6 months, which resulted in the release of almost 150 hardcore criminals.
Federal politics finished last year with the government struggling. Not only had the Indigenous voice referendum failed, but a series of controversies saw the coalition on the attack.
The High Court ruled that indefinite detention was unconstitutional. And that is now the law of the land. The government must act in accordance with the law.
Every political pet shop galah could tell you last year that the only issue on voters' minds was the cost of living. But finding the space to talk about it was difficult with culture wars raging, and getting the public to accept the government was doing enough to address it seemed even harder. The government's habit of rattling off a list of worthy measures it had taken, which did not have the politically worthy feature of putting cash in people's hands, didn't help.
Whether it be the energy price relief plan, cheaper childcare, fee-free TAFE.
The electorate is grumpy though, Prime Minister. The polls aren't good. There are concerns inside the government. Have you got a plan?
Well, that's not right, Laura. If
Which
you
bit?
look at all of it, the whole assumptions which are there. I realise the media get bored and like to look towards a contest, but the truth is we end the year, unlike previous oppositions throughout history, in a much stronger position as a government. 2/3 of the way into a term, we understand that people are under cost of living pressure.
But in fact, by late December, the Prime Minister had come around to the view that something more substantive needed to be done. The political risks of breaking a promise, compared with the need for a circuit breaker and the opportunity to provide some cash-in-hand cost of living relief, had changed. And the discussion was no longer about dumping the Stage 3 tax cuts because of their cost, but, with the budget nudging 2 surpluses in a row, refashioning them in a way which would make the majority of taxpayers winners. Treasury officials told a Senate inquiry this morning that they had been asked to look at cost of living relief through the tax system on December 11, after Treasury Secretary Stephen Kennedy met with the Treasurer Jim Chalmers. But Deputy Secretary Diane Brown said the proposed revamp was Treasury's idea, not one done at the request of the Treasurer.
It was very clear to us that the government's position was to support the legislated Stage 3 tax cuts. It was not, our thinking was not done at the request of the Treasurer. We were conscious that it was a commitment of the government to implement Stage 3, but as public servants, we will look at and provide advice. You know, the expression frank and fearless, when we think there might be a better solution.
The genesis and timing of the change of heart has been an important part of the Coalition's attempts to build the case that the government always intended to dump the cuts and can't be trusted in the future.
This process has been rushed, it has been botched, and your Prime Minister has lied to the public. And I hate the idea that potentially the public service have to be complicit in that lie.
The Shadow Ministry is meeting this evening to consider its position, which likely won't be officially announced until after its party room meets tomorrow. But the signals in recent days suggest the Coalition has recognised that, for once, it is the opposition that has been wedged rather than the government.
Your own electorate is among those who are going to benefit greatly from these changes to the tax cuts, some 85% of them. You don't want to take money away from them, do you?
And we're not going to.
The Prime Minister was this afternoon enjoying the opposition leader's discomfort.
Our opponents have had a few positions. Not sure what theirs is today.
Public and party polling all show the majority of voters support the change. And why wouldn't they? Treasury analysis shows someone earning $73,000 would pay $21,000 less tax over 10 years than under the original plan. Crossbenchers will do some haggling about cost of living support for people who will miss out on the cuts, like those on welfare, and the Greens are unimpressed.
They haven't fixed the fundamental unfairness in the system, and being slightly less crap than Scott Morrison is not going to fix the cost of living crisis and the struggles that people are facing at the moment. The Greens will push for more for people on low and middle incomes, for the millions of people that Labor is leaving behind.
But with the possibility of more help in the May budget, these objections don't seem insurmountable. And by election time, a broken promise may be forgiven.
I don't see that as a lie, I see that as common sense, and those people that need it most in society, we're going to pass some down to you, and so we should. Once again, that is the Australian way.